If you're married, you know there's going to be inevitably some disagreements between you and your spouse. Could be about the most common things like finances, or sometimes you might have a big fight about something really minor like choosing a restaurant. Usually these things get resolved. Reasonable adults can figure out a solution or a compromise, and life goes on. For Ramon, that's not how it worked out. He and his wife, Lulu, had gotten to the point where their marriage could not be saved, and a divorce was coming up. But then Lulu decided to take things to a whole new level and hire someone to murder Ramon. That's when things got a little crazy. This is a flashback episode. Ramon told this story 5 years ago here on the podcast, so after our conversation, you'll hear a chat that he and I had just recently about what he's doing today and the latest news about Lulu. Real people in unreal situations.
There is a girl hanging by her broken leg from the telephone wire.
And I called 911 and I said, I found a baby.
I turned around. I see a gun pointed at me close enough I could touch it.
She would hold our heads underwater all the time.
He levels the gun, pulls the trigger, and I go down.
Her eyes were full of tears. She didn't want to leave us.
My hair catches on fire.
I swear to God, this image is burned in my head for the rest of my life.
I'm Scott Johnson, and this is What Was That Like? On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird is the feeling of lying down in your own grave?
I tell you what, from 1 to 10 is an 11. It was the most craziest thing ever when the detectives came up to me and said, you know what, we have one more thing we have to do before we go through this whole case. And it was to put me in a grave with a bullet wound on my head. I just could not believe what I was hearing.
That is just unbelievable. All right, well, let's talk about how you got to that point. Your background, you came from Puerto Rico and you opened a gym in Houston, correct?
Yeah, I was born in Puerto Rico, mostly raised in the United States. I lived in the East Coast for a while. Moved to Texas as a teenager. Been boxing since I was about 8 years old. Boxing has been my life. I love boxing. I competed in I had a lot of amateur fights. I turned pro when I was 17. Things didn't go my way. It was, the pros, it was just something that did not happen for me because I had the wrong kind of management. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to go still be involved with boxing. So I decided still to coach and open up a gym and started from there. And it was something that I still to this day love is boxing.
Yeah, it's obvious you have a real passion for that.
Correct.
2 people came into your life, and let's talk a little bit about each one of these people. First of all, Mundo in 2005. Can you tell us about him?
Yeah, Mundo actually I think it was a little earlier than that. Mundo came into my life when I had a gym. Well, it wasn't my gym. I was helping out at a gym where I had my nonprofit. It was a church. And back then I still have it. It was a nonprofit called Young Prospects Boxing. And Mundo just happened to walk into my gym. A young man, he was in early 20s, a little bit overweight, and he was very honest with me. Told me that he just wanted to learn how to box. He loved boxing. He didn't have the opportunity to do it when he was young, but he said, I don't want to compete. I know I'm just a little too old to compete, but I want to learn how to box. And he was very honest. He told me all about his background, and we just kind of, hooked. And he was in the beginning like a part of my family. I have 2 sons and a daughter, and he was part of that too. He became my third son.
And then the other person that came into your life was Lulu. What's her actual name?
Her name is Maria de Lourdes Dorantes. That's her maiden name. And I met her. She goes by Lulu. And I met her in 2007. we were out. I was out basically one night. I went out. I was but then divorced for about 7 or 8 years then, and I went out. I wanted to go have some drinks and hang out for a little while, and I went to a place in Woodlands, Texas, which it was a Mexican restaurant that turns into basically a club after 10 or 11, I think it was. So I went there just to hang out, salsa music, that's the stuff that I like. And I saw her. That's why I met her. She was in there. We met and we attracted to, visually attracted to each other, and this danced the night away.
And it was a pretty quick romance. And how long before you got married?
Well, actually, we got married about a year and a half later. We dated for about a year and a half. We got to meet each other's family, and she came from Mexico City. She had her son Luis I think he was early teens. I say maybe 12, 13. And then her daughter, Carla, was maybe 6, 7, or 8, maybe. So she had 2 kids, and I have 3 from a previous previous marriage. So we dated for about a year and a half before we decided to get married.
So it suddenly became a pretty big family then.
Yeah, I did. At the beginning, it was a little bit rough, trying to merge our families together because at that age, kids tend to be jealous of their parents and stuff like that. And my kids were a little older than hers, and they're okay. They understood. But with her, it was sometimes a little tough, getting, with her son because that's his mother, and he was a little bit jealous of another man coming around.
Yep, that's understandable.
Yeah.
Now, how long before things started to go south with the marriage?
We were doing well, at the beginning of our marriage. It was like the first 3 years. It was like, I guess that's what they call the honeymoon years. It was an excellent. She treated me like a king. You talking about massages, foot massages. She, get up early in the morning before I even get out of bed, and I had breakfast already made for me, and it was just a wonderful person that treated me so, like a king. And I was so grateful for marrying this person, and we were in love. What I thought was in love.
And the gym was doing pretty well too, right? You're making pretty good money?
Yeah, we decided to open a gym up in around about 2009 or 10. I think it was. We opened up a big gym, Woodlands Boxing and Fitness, and it was doing very, very well. Me with my boxing background, and Lulu was very, very savvy with business. She basically took care of the business side of it, and I took care of the training, and later on she decided to start training people too. But it worked out. At the beginning, it was doing very, very well, and it did well for a long time.
Yeah, it sounds like with each of your skills, it sounds like a perfect partnership.
Exactly, and that's what we thought I had. That's what I thought I had. The money was coming in. We're doing very well, and the gym was doing very well. So, I thought everything was great for a while.
But then it wasn't so great.
Yeah, things. We had our differences sometimes, and I think it all started with the kids, especially with their son. When you married a person and they have kids, and then the young man actually thought that he was the man of the house. And it got to the point where I would, and I understood, and I try to sit there and talk to him and explain to him, this doesn't work like that. There can only be one man in this house, and I'm the one that pays the bills, put, clothes in your back and food in your stomach. And this is how it's going to be. And it was just tough. I think it all started with that, with having problems with the kids. And then then they started getting jealous with my kids because my kids started doing, they're educated, college, and they do well for themselves. And she started getting that jealousy between her kids and my kids. And I think it started with that was one of our biggest problem at the beginning.
Sounds like a lot of different dynamics happening at the same time.
Yeah, it was.
And then at some point there were accusations of abuse.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, there's a little background on her. When Lulu came to this country, she was she was here on a visa, American visa, And that's when she got married to me being Puerto Rican, she automatically became, she got a residency. She applied for U.S. citizenship, and in about 3 years later, she became an American citizen. Her kids became an American citizen, and her mother became an American citizen. So yeah, so they all became American citizen and legally in this country because of me. And then right after she got all that, and I noticed that she started her temper. I know she had a little temper all the time, but she started changing a little more. We started having more and more arguments. We went on a trip one time on vacation to Puerto Rico. We had a disagreement in Puerto Rico at the hotel, and to the point where we had to get separated. And she slept in one room that night. And I slept in, separate rooms. And I had no idea that she had filed a report, not even a police report. It was a report for the hotel. And then she even put on there that I had scratched her. And I said, and that's when I first like, wait a second, scratched you? That I never put a hand on her, ever, ever. And then she even had, scratches on her fingers. And I'm thinking, what? And that's when I figured, no, there's something going on here. But we were able to resolve that problem and talk through it. And like, again, because, one thing that Lulu is, and I'll say is because she's still living, and I don't care. People say that she's changing or not. She knows how to manipulate people. She was a good manipulator, and she knows how to use her beauty and charm to get whatever she wants. Kind of like a psychopath. And that's what I felt like that was going on with me, what she was trying to do to me.
When you saw that report where she was making these accusations that obviously weren't true, you must have thought, man, do I really know who this person is?
Yeah, she claimed and to this day, I bet still swears that I did that to her, and it was investigated. And then she tries to tell me that she didn't call the police on me in Puerto Rico, even though at the hotel, the securities came up to the room and they talked to me, and we told them what had happened. We just had a disagreement, but because that's one thing that she knew how to do. She knew how to push buttons. She knew exactly what buttons to push to get me involved in a disagreement. And it always started her, talking just crazy stuff about my kids. And I'm like, look, just be respectful. That's all I'd asked. But when the security for the hotel came up, they talked to her outside, and then some came inside and talked to me, and not one of them, if you have scratches or you're bleeding, they would have said, look, she has scratches or she's bleeding somewhere. Then not one of them mentioned that to me because they know, it wasn't true.
Right.
But then when I saw that on the report, I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about? And then she's, nah. This is something, she's up to something,
Yeah. Yeah. So it ended up that you guys finally decided you were going to get a divorce.
Yeah, it got to the point in 2015, she filed for divorce. I was okay with them. We tried to to go to counseling before that, and we tried different things. But prior to that, she just didn't want nothing to do it. She said, you know what, this is not going to work out. I want a divorce. But in the divorce, she wanted everything. She wanted the house. She wanted the business. She wanted the car. She wanted everything. I know a lot of men sometimes, they walk away and leave everything and just, start over again. But I feel like, you know what, I work too hard for everything I have. This gym is doing the business, everything it's just too much work. And I told, we go half. I mean, I told her, I don't know how things work in Mexico, but here it's half. And she tried to fight it, and sometimes it got to the point where we couldn't live together. So we got a 2-story home. She was living upstairs and with her mother and her 2 kids, and I was living downstairs by myself. And you talk about tension,
Oh, I can imagine. Oh man.
She's living upstairs, and it was just bad. It was just a horrible thing.
Now, how does it work as far as citizenship? Even if you guys got divorced, she still remains a U.S. citizen, right?
Oh yeah, she is an American citizen. She has all the rights, just like you and me, and her kids, and her mother. And to this day, I have not gotten one thank you.
I don't think you're going to get that.
No, I don't think so. And I don't expect it. It is what it
Right.
is. I'm just, hey, they're here. They're lucky they're here because of me. And then, to try to kill me, that's even it's incredible.
All right. So one day, there's a conversation in the gym. I think it was with Lulu and her daughter, and your protege or your son Mundo overhears that. What was that about?
Yeah, it was crazy because, Mundo, he would take care of the gym for me, especially on the weekends, because sometimes we would take a break on Saturday. So he had the key to open it and close it. And even in the evening, sometimes he would come in late. And so he can come and go. That's one person that, other than Lulu and me, that could come in and go whenever they feel like it. That's how much I had trust in him. So Mundo already knew that we were going through a divorce. I had talked to him, and he knew what was going on. But this particular night, I wasn't there at the gym, and he walked in. What he told me is that he walked into a conversation that her daughter Carla was having with Lulu, and the conversations had something to do with that Carla told Lulu that there was a kid in the gym from Mexico, and the kid told Carla that he had an uncle in Mexico that killed people, that chopped up people for a living. And I'm like, and that's when Mundo walked him to the conversation, and Mundo told him, "Hey, I need to watch out what y'all talking about. You never know who's listening." And he was like, and they kind of laughed it off, and they were like, no, it was no big deal. And then he said that later on that evening, he kind of pulled Lulu to the side, one on one, when the gym was, there's nobody, hardly anybody there, and they're about to close. And he pulled her to the side and asked her. And mind you, Lulu already knows Mundo's background. Mundo was a young man that, had a checker background, and I helped him when he was going through a lot of problems. Well, just mentor him basically with a lot of stuff. And she knew his background.
His background meant that he knew people that could do stuff.
Yeah. But his background was, when he was younger, he was involved with in gangs and stuff like that. But he was a young man that became a great person and father and great person anyway. So I guess that's what she trusted him when Mundo came up to her and I said, "Hey, man, so is this about Ramon?" And she said, "Yeah, this is about him." And she goes, "I wish they would take him. I wish he would just go away. I wish it would just disappear." And that's when he said that he made the pistol sign and shoulder say, "You mean disappear like this?" He did the pistol sign and shoulder.
Like pistol, you mean like his fingers pointing at his head?
Yeah, no, not at his head, but he just did like with his two fingers and a thumb, like the sign of a pistol. And she said, yeah, like that. And that's when this young man, the decision that he made right there was the one reason that I'm talking to you right now, is because right there and then he said, "Well, I'll tell you what," he told her, "I got the people that can do the job for you." And she felt, she believed him. Mundo called me the next day. I remember that I was driving, and he called me, and Mundo likes to joke around sometimes, and we joke around and stuff like that. And when he called me and told me that, I said, I told him, "Mundo, quit joking around, man. This is I don't play like that. Quit messing around. I don't believe that kind of stuff." And she goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Look, I seen that look on people's faces when they want to kill somebody. She's for real." And then he said that he was gonna, see about meeting with her later on that evening and start having conversations, and record the conversation was on his phone, where she had no idea what was going on. And that's what it all started.
I just can't imagine. I mean, she knew your relationship with Mundo, that you were like a father to him. And how could she have such a bad misjudgment of his character to think that he would be involved in this?
Yeah, it was just a weird situation, and it was so many thoughts that went through my head. Like, why did she believe, in him? What does she to think that he would do something like that? And not only that, when Mundo, I guess, when he reacted the way he reacted by telling her, "I got the people that can do the job," that's when I believe that she thinks like, "Oh man," I guess she was so desperate too. Like, look, she wanted it done. I think that's what got to her. Like, she was so desperate. Like, yeah, man, just just get it done. And that's where it all started.
So it must have taken you a little bit of time just to process the thought of, wow, she really wants to do this.
Yeah. Not only that, I had to drive home and see her. I had to drive after hearing that. I had to go home and see her face and act like I didn't know what was going on. That was the weirdest feeling. And knowing that she's sleeping upstairs and I'm downstairs. So basically I'm sleeping with the enemy in my own house. And I would sleep I would sleep with one eye open after I found out what was going on.
So how did you guys, what was the plan that you came up with?
Well, actually, Mundo was the one that came out with the plan. He said, "What I'm going to do is, I'm going to have conversations with her. So I'm gonna go out there and talk to her. I'm gonna record everything." And when we thought we had enough evidence, and we got to the point where Mundo asked her for money for a dirty gun, what they call street gun, whatever. And he said that it was going to be $200, and she gave him the money. Once Mundo had the money, and we felt like we had enough evidence, we went to the police. And the police, at the beginning, they didn't believe us, not they believe, but they had to. They never had done the precinct where I live. They have never dealt with anything like this. So they talked to Mundo and me together, and then they separated us to make sure our stories, were the same. And shortly after that, they called in the state police, they called in the FBI, they called in the Rangers, and they put a plan together. And that's where it all started with them. They took over, and they brought in a undercover police officers to start meeting with Lulu. And this undercover officer was one of the hitmen that Mundo had told Lulu about, that he was going to do the job. So she thought this man she was talking to was the guy that Mundo got for her. And she had no idea he was the undercover officer.
He was a policeman.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Can you talk a little bit about why was it difficult for Mundo to go through with this plan?
Well, Mundo, like I said earlier, he was involved with as a young man with gangs, and once you join a gang, and even if you try to leave it, you're in the gang for life. And in the gang life, you don't snitch. You don't snitch on nobody. You don't talk about that kind of stuff. And they take that at heart. And that was the biggest problem that he had. And he told me straight up, this is something that he did it for me, because he in his life, the way that's the kind of stuff they don't do. But he felt like that's something that he had to do to save my life, because he had no idea. So he felt like if he didn't take that chance on doing what he did, maybe she would have asked somebody else. And not only that, I still didn't think. I said, I didn't know she had a plan B. So even though we were doing this, I was always looking out. Well, maybe she told somebody else too. So I didn't know if it was just Mundo and his plan, or then she had talked to somebody else just in case that didn't work. So it was very hectic.
Yeah, if it didn't work with him, obviously she would have tried finding somebody else, like this other kid whose uncle did that.
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So how did that play out? She paid money, and then what happened after that?
They have the undercover officer, which I can't remember. They called him John Boy or Paco, because there was the two hitmans that Mundo had told her about. I forget which one. I think it was Paco that they call, that they're on the undercover officer. His name was, Paco. That's what they used for the undercover. And they would meet with her and Mundo, because Mundo. I told the officers, look, man, you need to keep Mundo in the loop, because as soon as she finds out that Mundo's out, she's going to start noticing something. So Mundo would always meet with them also at the same time, and they met, and in a undercover officers, a car with all the lights and audios in it. So they had everything. In this particular evening, they told her, so look, we're ready to do the hit, and it's going to cost you $12,000. And she said, well, I tell you what, I don't have all the money right now, but I can give you, some money and some jewelry. And come to find out, the jewelry that she gave him was my jewelry, wedding rings, watches, my own stuff, as a down payment to have me killed.
Now that's irony right there.
Exactly. And then she went to the bank and got some money out, gave him some cash. And then she said, "I tell you what, another thing is he wears this real nice watch. He's always wearing it. So when you kill him, you can keep that watch too. It's worth a lot of money." And then another thing that she said was that as soon as he dies, I'm gonna get his pension. I'm gonna get all his retirement. I'm gonna get all his money, and with that money, I can pay you the rest. So she had it all planned out.
Yeah, she had obviously put a lot of thought into how
Yeah,
everything was
yeah,
going to work out
yeah. She
perfectly.
knew she knew exactly how much I was worth dead. They even asked her at one point, one of the things they asked her, to see if she was really, really wanted to go through it and give her one last chance to get out of it. They asked her, do you just want us to beat him up? We can just beat him up. And, she said, no, he's better to me dead. I want him dead.
Yeah, beating you up really wouldn't do anything for
No,
her
it wasn't going to,
financially.
no, no. And we were still going through a divorce of this. And that's one thing that she wanted. She wanted to make sure that the, that they kill me before, I think our what was it? Our in August or September, we were going to finalize our divorce, and this was like end of July. And she told them, said, "Look, y'all need to finish before the the divorce is finalized, because if he dies after the divorce is finalized, I don't get anything. They'll give it to his kids, and I don't get anything." She was just worried about my kids getting all the money, and she was not going to get anything.
This is a woman without any feeling or empathy, it sounds like.
No, she was just not thinking about nobody but herself. She didn't think about her family, her kids, nothing. All she wanted was, you know what? I want to get this divorce. And she felt, I guess, that, look, things were going her way, and her attorney thought they were going her way, but apparently she didn't think they would think things were going her way. And I guess that's what made her go, you know what? I got to take this man out. And the only way it's going to happen is like this.
So she paid that and gave the final order, and that's when you and the cops went into Hollywood mode.
Yeah. See, after all that happened, after she gave the money to them and all the jewelry, and they had enough evidence. Basically, they had enough evidence to have her arrested. And I thought that was going to be it. And I said, okay. They called me in. They said, "Ramon, we need to talk to you." And I said, okay. I was used to going in there and talking to them all, through this whole process. And when they took me in there, I remember being at night, and it was kind of scary. It's like, "Well, you bring me in here at night like this?" And they had the officers from the FBI, was it local, the constables. They were all there, like in the meeting room, and they explained to me and said, "Look, we have enough evidence to arrest Lulu right now, but we just don't want to take any chances if we go to a jury trial, and some of these jurors might find her, have sympathy for her because she's a single, because she's a mother. She's never been in any problems. She's, a lot of people in the community know her, from the boxing gym and stuff like that. So they might feel sorry for her, and all it takes is one, And so they said, what we want to do, we need this to be a slam dunk case. This thing's got to be 100%. So what we want to do is take a picture of you dead and show it to her. And I'm like, "What did you say, dead? Like what?" He said, "Yeah, we're going to see a picture of you dead, and we're going to put you in a grave, and we're going to show her the picture to have proof that the job was done." And that's what they did. They pulled out real pictures. I never forget. They had like the assistant DA that was there, and he pulled out pictures of real dead people with bullet wounds to the head. And they said, "Okay, we're going to pick this one right here. This is what we're going to do." And when they had the next day, they said, "Well, this is going to happen. We're going to disappear you for 3 days." And nobody knew, I couldn't tell nobody, Mundo, nobody knew where I was at. My family, they had no idea what was going on.
And where were you for those 3 days?
They took me out of town. They took me out of town to a hotel. It wasn't that far from south of Houston.
So where nobody would see you or anything. That's all.
Yeah, nobody knew where, I had no idea. They took me out. I had to meet this officer in the middle of the night, and they had everything set up, where I can just, I have no idea what was going on. But anyway, they said we're gonna put this makeup on you. Before that, they took the picture. Before they took me out to the hotel, they took me to this gravesite, and at the gravesite they already had dug up the hole. And I swear it looked like something you see in one of these movies from oh my God, like Scarface or something. When they kill somebody and put him, it was just a horrible looking thing. It was like a scene from a movie. All these cameras and all these people were there. And they said, okay, we're going to get you down to your underwears and finish up the makeup and put you in, in a position like this. And they, close my eyes and we're going to put some dirt on you. And it seemed like 1,000 pictures they took of me. All I can hear is that 35 millimeter.
How did they do the makeup?
Oh my goodness. That's another thing, because I thought these guys knew what they were doing. And there was these 2 officers, constables, and they went in there and they had this little kit. And they started, putting this stuff on, and I say, man, what is it? It looked like something you see the one that some kids do for Halloween. And I said, man, this is not going to work. And come to find out, they had just looked at that or learned how to do it on YouTube from this YouTube video on some people knowing, putting bullet wounds on their head for whatever reason, for Halloween or whatever. And that's how they did it. And it came out, and I said, man, let me tell you something. She's not going to go for this, man. I know Lulu, and I know, she knows how to do Photoshop, and she likes that kind of stuff, messing with pictures. She's not going to go for this. I said, well, he's going to have to do. And sure enough, they did it. And this is where it gets crazy. They took the picture to her, and the undercover officers told her that they had finished the job, and they showed her the picture of me dead with a bullet, supposedly dead with a bullet wound on the side of my forehead. And the first question that she asked the officer was that, he's not getting up, right? And they started laughing. And that hurt so much. I was like,
man.
I mean, when I saw that video, I was like, did she just say he's not getting up and started laughing? And I'm thinking, she thought that she had just hit the lotto. She just hit the lotto when she saw that picture.
And of course, she had no reason to not believe, to believe that it was fake.
No, exactly.
So yeah, if she wouldn't have any reason to suspect it, and obviously she really wanted badly to believe it was true. And
yeah.
So that's all it took.
She had so many people manipulated by telling lies about me, that I was a drunk, that I was abusive, that I had hit her kids, they had filed false police reports on me. I mean, I was just the worst thing that could, worst man that there could be. And that, so she already had this image of me so people believe, that he's not what people think. So when I died, they were like, oh, he deserved it, and that's the type of person she was. She had a lot of people believing bad things about me, and it was all a lie. And the whole time I had to be quiet. I had to bite my tongue. I couldn't say anything because I already knew what was going on with the murder for hire.
So they showed her that picture, and that kind of, in her mind, that was she finalized the deal. It was all done. And then was it that from that point you were missing for 3 days? Or you'd already been gone 3 days?
No, I had been missing after that, because they took the picture and then they took me to the hotel. I'd been missing for the 3 days, and nobody knew where I was at. My family, my kids, everybody was looking for me. Then they went and arrested her. And this is the next day after the next day after they showed her the picture. They went to my gym, and she was in the office with her daughter and her mother. And they walked in, and the 2 officers walked in and talked to her and asked her told her that they were doing a missing person report on me, because then I've been gone for 3 days. And she had this look like she was even surprised, like, whoa, yeah, I don't know. I've been calling. I called his sister, and they don't know where he's at. I call his friends, they don't know where he's at. And she calls and talks to her mother there. Hey, what's the last time you saw Ramon? And she said, I think I saw him Wednesday somewhere, She said something like that, knowing exactly, knowing that the night before she was just laughing because she saw my picture of me dead.
And this is the audio of the day that the officers went to the gym, supposedly to ask Lulu about the fact that Ramon was missing and to see if she knew where he might be. Of course, they knew he was in hiding, and she thought he was dead, so she just played dumb, and then they arrested her.
Miss Sosa, ¿habla inglés? Okay, Detective Martinez with the constable's office. I had a few questions for you. Is there somewhere we can talk in private?
Sure, absolutely. Sorry. My paperwork here.
That's okay. I never knew there was a boxing gym here. This is nice.
Yes, we have 5 years now here.
Okay. We got a call from, is it okay to talk in front of them?
Just my daughter and my mother.
Okay. Like I said, I'm a detective with the constable's office. I got a call today from that apparently Mr. Sosa hasn't been at work today.
That's what they told me. I received a call today from Byron, and that's his friend.
His friend at work?
At work.
Okay.
He called me today and he asked me for some information if I have talked to him. I said, well, no, I haven't seen him. I haven't talked to him. We're going through the board.
When's the last time you saw Mr. Sosa?
We saw him on Wednesday 15th, the last day.
That's the last time you saw him?
That's the last time I saw him, my mom, and my daughter. I'm here from 4 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. and then I go home, I take a nap, I shower, and then come back at around 3.
Okay.
That's when we sometimes see him.
So he hasn't contacted you in the last 24 hours?
No.
When's the last time you checked your phone to make sure you don't have a missed call? Or are you like most people, you check your phone a lot?
Oh, no, yeah, I have my phone with me all the time.
Okay, Miss Sosa, stand up, please. You're under arrest. Okay, you're under arrest.
Why?
Okay. Ma'am, it's okay. Stay back. We have a warrant.
I need to talk with my háblale por favor. Ya, háblale por favor a Julio. Julio Foglar.
So the officers right there, they read her, said, you know what, your arrest from, they took her away they arrested her in front of her mother and her daughter. And they were still clients in the gym. So they took her in, and from there on, that was it. She just got locked up.
And she had to know right at that time.
Oh, yeah. She knew exactly what was going on. But, and she was telling her mother right after, call my attorney, but she knew what she had done. There was no doubt. And then my family, nobody knew what was going on. And next thing I know, there's a press conference, and my news comes wire to wire in every network around the nation. They show my what happened about me being a murder for hire, or she being arrested for a murder for hire. And that's how my family found out, through the news.
Oh, so you didn't even tell them. They found out by watching the news.
Yeah. They I didn't have a chance because they had a press conference, and by the time I could call them and even find out, it was too late. And it was just it was just crazy. People crying and calling me and not understanding what was going on, and they had no idea this was even going on, and it was crazy.
So how did you? And of course, you'd been missing for 3 days, and your kids didn't even know where you were.
Exactly.
How did you reunite with them? Where did you meet up?
Well, back then, my oldest son was in San Antonio. Mitchell, he was in San Antonio. He graduated from school, from college, and kept working in San Antonio. And then I have another son in L.A. He's in the Chris is in the actor comedian business. And I had my daughter was out there in LA too. She was modeling back then too. So they have 2 in LA. So I called the one in San Antonio, Mitchell, and I told him what was going on. And the first thing on his mouth was like, Dad, what the hell's going on? And I explained to him, but it was tougher talking to my daughter. That's the one, because she's the youngest. And let me tell you, I've never heard that cry in my life when she heard my voice, because she saw it on the news, and it was just crazy knowing, listening to her. She cried and cried and cried, and my other son, it was horrible, very, very. It was, to this day, still bothers me.
They realized they could have just lost their dad.
Yeah, exactly, and that was close to being that, you know. But thank God, it worked out for me.
The visit to the gym where Lulu got arrested is on video. I'll have that video on the website for this episode so people can watch that if they want to.
Yeah. That situation there. It's kind of crazy that the night before she was laughing and asking the undercover officer what she thought was the hitman if I was not going to get up, and the next day she's all worried about me. Come on. That's the kind of psychopathic, what a psychopath does, that kind of stuff.
So she gets arrested, and I think it was like a year later, she took a plea deal.
Yeah, she was arrested for first-degree solicitation of capital murder, and they gave her $1 million. She was under $1 million bond, and a year and a half later, there was so much evidence stacked up against her that her attorneys just, you know what? I think she had like 3 different attorneys, back to back to try to work with her. And they finally gave up and said, you know what? We're just going to plead. And she pleaded down to a second-degree capital murder, solicitation of capital murder, and got 20 years. And believe it or not, a lot of people, when she got sentenced, I went to the hearing and they let me talk. They asked me if I wanted to say something to her, and I did. I got up there, and she would never looked at me. She was just standing in front of the judge and looking towards the judge and with her attorney. And I forgave her. I told her, because I was living with this rage. I was living with this anger. I was living with this, I could not go day to day. I wasn't sleeping. I was so much stressed out. And I feel like that was the only way I can release all that stress and anger by telling her, because unless you're in this position, ever in a position like I was, you don't understand the situation that goes through your mind and the anger that I have for her and her family, everybody that was involved with trying to kill me. And I forgave her. I told her, you know what? Everybody in this courtroom has made mistakes in their life. Either, we're not perfect, but now the mistake that you made, you're going to pay the consequences for, and God is going to take care of it. She never looked at me. She never had no remorse, not once. All the times that we were in court for all the hearings, not one time she had any remorse. Not looked at me, and not that I want anything, but at least I guess she felt like, she was right for what she did. So that's how I remember her. The last thing I remember, Lulu loved wearing nice, expensive clothes and shoes that she loved. We did well, with the gym. She loved and then to see her in a jumpsuit of pink and white stripes, chained up, wearing those $1 state shoes, that was the last thing I saw of her when they took her away in chains.
That night that she was shown that picture of you dead and she laughed, that may have been the last night she's laughed since then.
Yeah, I think so. The way she was laughing, she was very happy. I'm telling you, I keep telling people that it looked like she had just hit the lotto, literally, because she said, he's not getting up. So now it's time for me to get paid now, basically.
So she was sentenced to 20 years. And when did she actually start serving that time? How much time has she served now?
I believe since 2015. That I guess they started with the time she got arrested in June 2015. So she's going on 4 years, and she's at a state penitentiary in Texas.
Is there a chance that she would get out early?
I'm pretty sure there is, with good behavior, and I think she's been up for parole a couple of times. Believe it or not, I had to write letters, and I had people write letters, and but she has been denied.
That seems so soon for a 20-year sentence to be up for parole after a couple of years. That seems weird.
Yeah. I guess I don't know how that works in the state of Texas but they have denied her both times. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Have you thought about when she gets out of prison?
Oh yeah, trust me. There's not a day that goes by I still live with this, not being scared, but always being very, very cautious. of everything that's around me. People that are, that's one thing that she did get from me, that to this day I still have problems trusting people, a lot of trust problems. I've been staying away from sometimes even my family, even Mundo, a young man that I owe my life to. I have kind of separated myself from a lot of people that help me. And it's not because I want to, it's just because I just need time to recoup. And it's been every day deal that goes through my head. There was a time where I was sleeping in my own bed with a loaded shotgun, and then I had a 40 millimeter gun in my kitchen, and I had in my car 9 millimeter. I mean, loaded at all times, and that's how I lived for a while. And it's not a way to live, Just because I thought there was Lulu comes from a family in Mexico. Her family, her sister, her brother-in-law, they do well for themselves. They have the business that they own, they do well. And I kept thinking, they can just pay anyone, from Mexico come over here and take me out for nothing, basically.
Right. Yeah,
And just for revenge, revenge. But I live it in God's hands. I pray and I let him take care of it. I have people that still watch me. I still, to this day, I watch myself, watch my back, and because I still don't know. I still don't know if there's a plan B, C. I don't trust. I still don't trust. And like I said, being in a way that the separation that I created with family and Mundo and people that love me, and it's not because I'm trying to be mean or trying to be, it's just because I need time to, and I'm going through counseling too, because it has not been easy. It has not been easy in my life.
It's not like you can find a group therapy with other people who have been targeted for murder. I mean, it's kind of
exactly.
a unique situation that you're in here.
Yeah. It's been tough. It's been very tough.
And I understand Mundo is trying to keep a low profile as well, fearing retribution from his, past gang activities and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's unfortunately that he's also has to live like that. But what he did for me, and I owe my life to the young man, to Mundo. And I've told people, and I've said it day, and I tell whoever it is, that interviews me, that God puts people in your path for a reason, and He put that young man Mundo in my path for a reason, and he was that angel that saved my life. And if it wasn't for him, I would not be here right now.
Right. And he has of course, being in the part that he played in this is a different perspective, and he's written a book.
Yeah, Mundo. He's written a book. It's called My Son Mundo. I wish him the best. I mean, if people out there listening, go out there and get his book.
Yeah, I'll have a link to where you can buy that book on the website as well.
Yeah.
So for anybody that wants to read that.
Yeah, he wish him the best, and I hope people out there go and get his book.
What's your day-to-day like now? Do you still train young kids to fight?
No. You know what? I sold my gym. It was just too much for me at the time when all this stuff happened. I try to keep up with it for about almost a few months, almost a year after all this stuff happened. But it was just getting to the point of too many memories and too much work for just me. And it was just, because we lost a lot of members because of what happened. And I was eventually building it up again. So I ended up selling it. I also rented my house out, my house where me and Lulu lived. I rented. It was just too much memories. I moved out. We moved into Houston. I was living in the Woodlands area. It's like north of Houston. And I wrote a book. I've been writing a book, and it'll be out soon. And close to the summertime, it'll be out.
What's the title of your book?
The name of the book is called "I Walked on My Own Grave," and it talks about everything that happened. It talks about me growing up, my family, my kids. And there's stories there, things that I have not mentioned in none of my interviews around the world. I have not mentioned a lot of stuff that are in the book and that are like jaw dropping. Things that you're gonna be like, wow, how could I live through this? You know, how did he live through that? You know, and I hope people and what I want to is people to learn, you know, couples to learn from this book, because you know a lot of times, you know, we live in a time where men keep their mouths shut. You know, men don't talk. Men are afraid to call the police. The stigma about being the machismo, the stigma of, like, you know, why are you calling the police on a woman? That kind of stuff is men need to speak up. They cannot keep their mouth shut, because, you know, there's a lot of women will use sexual assault, will use abuse, will use, and then, you know, when it does happen and is legitimate by a man, man, they need to throw the book. I mean, I have a mother, a sister, and most importantly, I have a daughter. And if any man does that to one of them, I hope they throw the book at them and they get put away forever. You know, but when you turn it around and a woman does this to a man, knowing that it's all a lie, you know, I could have been in prison for the rest of my life if it was for this woman. I could have been dead because of this woman. You know,
and there are men currently in prison because of accusations that could never been proven. But exactly, and you know, and it's statistics and they show that it's very seldom that happens. But you know what? Let me tell you something. Let that be your father. Let that be your brother. Let that be a man that in your life that happens to. How would you like if they call you and they say, "Look, your father's locked up for abusing a lady," knowing that it was nothing. He didn't have nothing to do with that. You know, right? Yeah.
And but when that happens, the book needs to be thrown at her when that happens. And that's what I'm speaking of, for that kind of stuff too.
Good. That's a good cause. You know, this sounds like it has all the elements of a movie. And any possibility of that? Have you thought about that?
You know what? It's a lot of stuff that happened that when I speak about in the book. And I've been, you know, some people have called me about a movie deal, and I've said no, because, you know, a lot of times I don't know about that kind of business, and I haven't made any decisions yet. So when the time comes and it's right, I just want to let the book speak for itself. And if everything goes well, you know, we'll see. But yeah, I've been out for some independent stuff, but I decided not to yet. I'm gonna just let the book go out there and see how it does. And again, you know, it's something that I believe is going to help out not only people that read what happened to me, but I hope they learn from it so it doesn't happen to them. Because if I can save one person or a family or a couple from going through what I went through, I think I've done my job.
Ramon, we are happy to help you share that message. And boy, what an amazing story. And we really appreciate you coming on here and telling it.
Man, it's been a pleasure, Scott. Definitely look forward to listening to your podcast, and hope that everybody out there enjoys this podcast and can learn something from it. And if you know somebody that's going through this, you know, get them help. If you read my book or if you read Mundo's book, I hope you learn something from it. We're not perfect, but we can surely work with each other. And if it doesn't work out, you just get divorced and make things work that way. You don't have to go to that extreme.
Ramon, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for having me back. First of all, congratulations on your podcast. I think you reminded me that was the 21st interview you had?
Yeah, I think it was the 21st episode. Yeah, it's been 5 years ago.
Wow.
And I remember at that time, Lulu had been in prison for about 4 years. Is she still locked up?
She has actually been released on parole, on very, very strict parole, on November of 2023. And she's going to be serving the rest of her time, which is 12 more years on the parole. So she has very strict restrictions. Of course, you know, she can't be around me or my family. And she's about 11 hours from here from where I'm at.
Oh, so you know where she's living then?
Yeah, the parole board, I have all access to, and they keep me updated with everything that's going on with her at all times.
Do you feel like you're in any danger from her, or not necessarily her, but her family?
You know what? I'm not going to say that I don't, because I still watch my back, and I still have that. I'm a different man. My life will never be the same ever again, ever since that happened to me, what she did to me and my family, to be honest with you, because my family still, when they find out that she was out on parole, they started panicking. And I tried to tell them, look, she was going to get out sooner or later. It was going to happen sooner or later. So it is what it is. And I will just have to be careful. I don't live my life like in fear everywhere I go, but I do watch my back, and I try not to go to places where there's a lot of people. And but that's how my life is now. I don't do a lot of things that I used to do before. And I'm very careful to the people I speak to on the phone, and numbers I don't recognize, or people that try to reach out to me even on social media. I don't answer that kind of stuff.
It seems like, obviously, if anything happened to you, she would be the obvious suspect, or someone in her family would be. And there's no really, before, when she was trying to have you taken out, it was a financial thing. She wouldn't have that incentive now, right? She's not going to get anything.
Oh, no. The only way that I believe that she would try to do anything or have anybody do anything to me is just out of rage and anger or payback or some type of way. But, financial or anything like that, she's not going to get anything out. But I mean, honestly, I don't think she would do anything knowing that she spent 8 years locked up, and she would be definitely the first person that would go after her and her family. I just leave it in God's hands, and I pray for my family, myself, and I got to move on. I got to move on with my life.
And from her standpoint, she's on parole. If she messes up, not just in relation to you, but if she does anything and screws it up, she's going back.
Oh yeah. She's and I have the parole board gave me all the rules she has to go abide by, and they're very strict. They're very, very strict, especially for the first year. She's right now has a monitor on her ankle that and she has to do some classes, anger management. She has to find a job, and I don't know if she lives where she lives exactly, in a halfway house or whatever, but they're keeping up with her. And I have her parole officer. I still have access to that person at any time I have any questions. And so yeah, I'm on the up and up with everything she's doing. And as far as if I see anything funny around me or something.
What's happened since then, or what are you doing for work now?
My life has been great, since I'm very, very happy to say that I'm now engaged to a wonderful lady.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. I'm very happy about that. She's wonderful. She's been great to me and my family, and I'm just happy that I found somebody. How God puts people in your path for a reason. That's what happened with her. And she's been great. As far as about my job, I'm also, I sold my business, my boxing gym, and I've sold my home that we had together, and I got rid of all the, too many memories, and it was just a mess. So I just, and I also have, my book. What I do now, it's, I take care of myself. I a lot of working out, and I have 3 beautiful grandkids now. And I spend a lot of time with them every time that I can. I do have a 9-to-5. I'm an instructor. I'm just happy to, I tell people all the time, that know me for years, and they start laughing every time I meet them. I see them out there, and I tell them, every time they say hello to me, I say, man, it's great to be alive. And every day for me above ground is a good day.
Right. Because you have literally been below ground in that grave.
Literally.
That's a unique perspective that you've had.
Yeah, I tell people all the time too, and say, look, man, I literally have walked to my own grave. So that's something that very few people, I think I've never met anybody or heard anybody that's ever done it, had done that to them.
Isn't it amazing how, if you look back just 10 years, the life that you had then and the life that you have now, it's almost like you're a different person.
Oh, totally. The way I live now, like I told you earlier, is different. In my heart, I'm happier now. I'll be honest with you, with the person that I'm with now, and then that relationship that I have with my kids now too, because that was another thing that she did. And I can't blame nobody but myself for letting her put a wedge between me and my kids. I have become a better father than I was back then because she was a person, Lulu was a person that just was very manipulative. And she got to me and she put a wedge between my kids and I. And again, I can't blame nobody but myself. I have a great relationship with my kids now, my daughter, Mia, and my sons, Mitchell and Chris. They're my life. Yeah, my life back then was I lived very well back then. Financially, I did a lot of things, but life now, the way I live, I love it. I love being around my kids, my family, my grandkids, and of course, now my future wife also.
And that's the important stuff right there. It's too bad more people don't figure that out.
Oh yeah, it's family's everything. I mean, you can have everything and travel the world and do what money. It's not everything. And that saying that money can't buy you happiness, I'll be the first one to tell you that. It doesn't buy you happiness and what's more headache. I mean, of course you need it and financially you got to pay your bills and everything, but just being around my family and my kids and grandkids, and I work out a lot more now. Physically, I'm in better shape than I think I was back when I was competing because even that, I looked at myself in those pictures from back then. I said, wow, but I had to do a lot with stress. I was under a lot of stress and mentally, physically, and that's what happens, But now, oh my God, I've developed a different body now. I'm 57 years. I'm about to be 57 in June, and I look totally different. I worked out. I try to work out every day and run and stay in excellent shape.
That's important. And I've looked at your Instagram. You do look great.
Oh,
I can confirm that.
Thank you.
And when we last spoke, you were in the process of writing your book, but that book is out now. Tell us about the book. It just outlines the details of the whole story.
Yeah, my book is I Walked on my own grave. It's my memoir about everything that happened in detail, and it's done very well. I mean, I received great reviews from people that have read it, and what I did, I wrote it. Well, actually, I didn't write it. To be honest with you, I had a ghostwriter. I'm not a professional writer, but it is my story. I wrote my story, and then my ghostwriter helped me put it together. But she did an excellent job. And as far as the book, it is, I tell people, it's kind of like when you watch these stories in Spanish or these novelas, what you call them in Spanish, where you have to get to the end. You got to wait till, you got to get to the next chapter because you can't put it down. And I've had people tell me the same thing, and I could not. I mean, I started reading your book, and I stayed up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning reading your book because it was like right after each chapter, I got to see what happens. I got to know what's going on next chapter, and that's what it was. It's a lot of ups and downs, and people that read it tell me the same thing. Like, man, there's so many different emotions that I went through. Me from being so happy, so upset at this lady, what she did to you, and then at the end, she got what she deserved, and I'm happy for you. And that's what it's all about. Somebody that went through a very difficult situation in a relationship. And my hope is that my story, whoever reads my book or even listens to or sees my story, that they get something or learn something from what happened to me so it doesn't happen to them. Or if they know somebody that is going through a difficult situation, they can learn from what happened to me.
It's so great to have a true story like this, and yet it has a happy ending.
Yeah.
Not so happy for Lulu, but
yeah,
for everybody else.
And what's so crazy, Scott, is that I'm still doing documentaries, and this thing happened in 2015. I still get asked all the time to do, different documentaries from around the world. Different companies call me to do that. But what I plan on doing now is it's telling my story myself on stage, like kind of like a one-man show. And I think, I've came across some people that I brought it up to, and they were like, oh man, that would be awesome, because it's nothing like having the person that it happened to right there in front of you telling their story, a true crime story of what happened to me on stage. And I've spoken and interviewed so many times that I've got pretty well at it. And I think that I would be pretty good at telling my story on stage.
Yeah, you've had a lot of practice. And
yes.
Yeah, first-hand true stories, that's the whole premise of my podcast. That's why your story was really perfect to come on here. And of course, since then, we've done lots and lots of other ones, but you definitely have a unique story. So we'll have links to some of your YouTube appearances, your interviews, stuff like that, as well as, of course, the link to where to get your book. Where's the best place to get the book? Just Amazon, or is there someplace else you would prefer?
Yeah, Amazon is the best place right now to get the book. If they don't have it, there's sold at different locations. You know, any major bookstore has it, or if they don't have it, they can order it.
And the title again is "I Walked on My Own Grave," and yeah, what a crazy story. Thanks for coming back on. It's great to hear from you again.
Thank you so much, Scott, for having me on. And again, congratulations on your podcast. And man, many, many, many best wishes for you and your family, man.
You can see a recent picture of Ramon and get a full transcript of this episode at the episode notes page, which is at whatwasthatlike.com/180. All right, here's a question. Did you know that I send out a short email every time I release a new episode of What Was That Like? It's true, but it's not some boring email that just says, hey, listen to my show, or hey, buy my merch. Actually, I hardly ever even promote my merch. No, with my emails, I try to make it entertaining and fun to read. I mention what the new episode is about, then I also link to something interesting that I recently discovered, like an article about the one drink to never order in McDonald's, or the first thing you should check when you get to your hotel room. And I also always include a recent picture from my phone. I often snap a picture when I see something interesting, and I love sharing these things with you. And honestly, one of the reasons I have the email list is because I don't trust Facebook. Facebook is weird sometimes. Right now, there are over 7,000 people in the podcast listener Facebook group, but Facebook has been known sometimes to just say, hey, we decided to shut down your group, and it just suddenly vanishes. And then how do I communicate with you? Well, at least I can send out a message to you if you're on my email list saying, hey, guess what? The Facebook group got shut down, and you wouldn't be wondering what happened. So if you're not already getting my emails, you can sign up for free at whatwasthatlike.com/email. And of course, you can unsubscribe anytime you want. All right, enough about email. Let's get to the listener story. Every episode, we close out with an audio story that was sent in by a listener. Just something interesting or scary or funny or sad or amazing or anything you think people might enjoy hearing. So what's your story? If you can tell it in like 5 to 10 minutes, just record it on your phone and email it to me, scott@whatwasthatlike.com. This week's story is from someone who witnessed a car accident that involved a friend. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week with a Tuesday question episode and a brand new episode on Friday.
It was about 6:30 in the evening in Kansas City, Missouri. We were at our friend's apartment complex. We were leaving, walking out to our car, and our friend Logan is following us out, and he mentioned something about his four-wheeler and how he wants to show us something. So we're like, all right. We get in the car, we are following him out, and when we get to the stop sign, we put our blinker on to go left. We watch Logan make a big hook to the right. So he makes a big arc like he's gonna head left, but just kind of swings it around. And as we're watching him, I look at my boyfriend and I'm like, what is he doing? I have no clue what's going on right now. My boyfriend's like, I have no clue what this guy's doing. So as we're watching, a car comes from the left side and slams into him, going at least 40 miles per hour, maybe more. And Logan goes flying like a rag doll, so far up into the air, just straight up, and he just slams down. And all I was saying at that point was, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. And when he landed, my instant thought was he's dead. He has to be dead. I pull up into the lane where he was at. They were kind of in the turn lane. And I get out of my car really quick. I see that the four-wheeler is jammed underneath the car that hit him. There's liquids pouring out of the car. The bumper is ruined. The four-wheeler is absolutely totaled. Our friend is lying there, and then the absolute craziest thing happened. He jumps up and he sprints away, and I have absolutely no clue how he did this, but we later figured out that it was probably a concussion mixed with adrenaline that just made him sprint away. So I go and sprint after him. And as I'm doing that, my boyfriend is talking to these two gentlemen that were in the car, and I did not hear their conversation, but I do know that one of the first things they said when they got out of the car was they didn't have insurance. So we understand our friend also did not have insurance, which meant that our friend did not want to call an ambulance. And the closest public hospital was 20 minutes away. So I asked him, please let me call 911, get you an ambulance. I don't know what's wrong with you, but I know it has to be something bad. It has to be. He said, no, just take me to the hospital. Just take me to the hospital. So we get into the car. My boyfriend grabs these guys' information, their phone number and their names, and we go to the hospital. And on the way, he's asking me questions like, am I going to die? And that just scared me so bad. I'm like, I have no clue. You could have, internal injuries. I don't know. And he also thought that his face was caved in because he just had a huge gash on his forehead with blood pretty much making him blind in one eye. And he's like, am I going to be able to see again? I'm like, I don't know. And my boyfriend gives him a shirt to put on his head. And we finally get to the hospital. We walk into a sea of absolutely horrified faces because I don't think most people who get hit by a car just walk into the emergency room, but he did. He's a trooper. They took him instantly back to triage. As he's back there, I'm calling his girlfriend, trying to get her to come up to the hospital. She was completely out of the loop. When she saw the scene, there were cops there, but nobody knew what happened. The other guys left the scene because they didn't want to get in trouble for having no insurance. So she gets up there, and then they transfer him to a trauma hospital. They get MRIs, x-rays, and he is so lucky. He only came out with a fractured vertebrae, a pretty mangled up thumb, some pretty big gashes on his head that needed stitches and staples, and a concussion. And that's it. And he got out of the hospital that night with just some pain pills and a recommendation to go to physical therapy. And I saw him a week later. He looked like he was healing up fine. He could walk fine. He showed us that he could bend his back. It's just honestly a miracle. And I asked him if he felt like a superhero because I'm like, you just got hit by a car and you're alive. And his response was, no, he doesn't feel like a superhero. He is just mad that his weekend was ruined.